Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. I am really excited because we are with two of Arizona's most influential do-gooders, the founders of Addison Taylor Fine Jewelry and the creators of the Tree of Life movement, Scott Berger and Marla Berger. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
We're honored to be here.
Well, please tell me, how did the Tree of Life movement start and how did Addison Taylor Fine Jewelry start?
So those are two loaded questions, and we may need a sleepover if we share the entire story, as you already know.
Reader's Digest.
Reader's Digest version. Well, going back to Addison Taylor, I started off in the diamond business and selling to dealers and stores throughout the United States and then globally.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden a friend would say, "Oh, I saw your wife's ring. Would you design mine?" And I'm like, "Okay, coming at 5 o'clock." And then another friend, and then another friend coming at 5, coming at lunch. And this continued and started growing and growing just organically. And Marla saw how happy this was making me. And she says, "Why don't you do what makes you happy and open our own private boutique?" And I said, "Okay." And we just took that leap of faith. And that's how Addison Taylor formed. At the time, we had 3 kids. And Addison Taylor is our daughter's first and middle name.
Love it.
And we have 2 older sons, Harrison and Justin, but we now have a 4th child who is 10. Her name's Jaden, and she's like, "Well, what about me?"
Oh.
So we went with it. We followed our hearts, and again, she brings out the best in me. And I love that we did take that leap, and it was the best decision we could have ever made.
And what year was this?
This was in 2004.
Okay.
Even though I started off in the jewelry industry in 1990.
Okay.
And we've always been about helping everyone, charities and different causes, even since we've been little, but we decided from the second we opened our door to start by giving charity. And we know when we do that and it's from the heart, it's always correct. It's not what's in it for us. It's how can we help another. And then fast forward, or should I say, I'll rewind to almost 8 years ago. I designed the Tree of Life pendant for Marla.
Is
This one.
Okay, that's the original.
That's the original.
And this was the anniversary gift?
That was for our 21-year anniversary almost 8 years ago.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And at the time, she says it felt like 20 years and 11 months. We kid. And on the back, it has all 4 of our kids' names engraved in Hebrew with the number 21.
That's beautiful.
And she said that was the most beautiful gift I had ever given her. Not because of the jewelry aspect, but the spiritual meaning of the Tree of Life. And she got to wear all 4 of our kids close to her heart. And she said, "That's it." And I'm like, "What?" And she says, "That's what I waited 21 years for." And I didn't understand what she meant at first, but it hit me. She said, "Yes, we are blessed with 4 beautiful children and health and a home and a business, but she believes that 2 souls are brought together in this lifetime for a bigger purpose and a divine reason." And that was it. And then it hit me like a lightning bolt. And we came up with our mantra, changing the world one tree at a time, we become one. Because we know there's no black, white, pink, yellow. There's no Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, Muslim. We're all the same. Our souls are the same. We stood together as one before, and I promise you, we're going to stand together again as one very soon. And we started designing different collections, and she surprised me for our anniversary, which is still to this day, I don't know how she got it past me, but the bracelet with the Tree of Life. And we started designing different collections with the tree on one side and different causes and charities on the other side, bracelets and necklaces and pendants. And 2 years ago, we designed a collection for the Pope at the Vatican, helping all the refugee children around the world.
Wow.
So here a Jewish family creates a collection for the Pope. It's not about religion, it's about doing the right thing for humankind.
And that really sets you both apart in the business community and as just genuinely amazing human beings is you don't let there be any type of division between human to human.
No, we're
and that's
all the
beautiful.
same. We're all the same, and this is what we're sharing with the world. And then all of a sudden the royal family in Windsor heard what we were doing and invited Marla and I with 23 other world visionary leaders on shifting consciousness and making change in the world for a better place. And we had no idea why we were going, but other than your heart and soul saying, oh my goodness, we must go. This is an opportunity of a lifetime.
Absolutely.
And we went. And we actually stayed and slept at the castle for 4 days, which was unheard of. And we're meeting the one-of-ones from around the world, CFO of all the embassies, NASA, professors, doctors, teachers, healers, musicians. It was just the one-of-ones that were invited to figure out how we can heal the world. And we're having all of our meetings in St. Vicar's Hall, where Shakespeare performed the first play for Queen Elizabeth I. So
Oh my gosh.
incredible, off the charts, energy, history, wow. And it was surreal. And the first evening, which I'll share the story, they sat us at the head of the table. And they asked me to stand up and do blessings and prayers, which I had no idea. Just, again, okay, be in the now, be present. So I stood up and I did blessings for the wine and the bread. And I had everyone in that room hold hands. And I said that these next 4 days should be filled with light and love and figuring out how we're going to heal the world. And we know when we do something from our heart, meaning it's not about us, it's about helping others first, everything is always a blessing. And for the next few days, we're back in round circle in St. Vicar's Hall having meetings, and everyone's talking about the tree of life, but they didn't know it. And I'm bouncing around like this, like, we know what to do. We just designed a collection for the Pope. And what did you say?
Well, I told him, just settle down, let everyone speak, because I always feel that to allow everyone to share their voices, and then we knew we had a solution, and then we'll bring it home collectively with everyone.
Right.
So, but he was so
Right. She
ready
says,
to explode.
She said, settle down, fifth child, breathe, listen. And I'm like, okay. So the night before last, we're having a private tour of St. George's Cathedral where Prince Harry and Meghan were just married. And this is 10 o'clock at night. Wow. All the kings and queens are buried. The history, architecture, it was incredible. And at the very end of our tour, Charlotte, who is third generation assistant to the Queen, is giving us our tour, said to us, I'm going to take you to the side where we do not take the public. And she brought us to these beautiful double red doors with gold imagery on each door, built in 1540, 778 years ago. It's the private entrance from the castle where the Queen comes into the cathedral.
Wow.
What do you think the imagery on the doors were?
A tree?
The tree of life on both doors.
Wow.
So we're like, okay, we get the message,
Yeah, you're exactly where we need to be.
And everyone's hairs were on end just standing up, because we had been talking about the tree of life, and they've been slowly understanding where we were coming from and what we were trying to accomplish. And then when they heard what was on the doors.
Yes. It was incredible.
And the woman who gave us the tour, the assistant, she wasn't part of these meetings.
Right, she didn't know what we were talking about.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was like when she said that, everyone. So we finish up with the tour and we go back for drinks at the oldest home on the castle grounds. And of course, what time do we walk in? 11:11.
Oh, I believe so hard in that. I'm always making wishes at 11:11.
I love
and I'm
it.
texting everyone who's most recent in my phone, make a wish, as fast as I can.
And do you know what that actually means?
It's the divine time.
Yes, your blessings. You're being surrounded by angels. It's validating. It's also
That you're on the right path.
Yes,
is how I always
it's
look at it.
numerology. It's
Exactly.
going.
Always catching it because I'm doing the right thing and I'm headed in the right direction.
Correct.
You're in alignment.
And if I
Validation.
stop seeing it, I get nervous because I'm like, okay, have I veered off in the wrong direction? You know?
Right. Good to be aware, conscious.
It's an awareness thing.
So we're having drinks, and the gentleman who invited everyone to the castle, his name's Pete, incredible, sweet, older Englishman, very conservative. He's been bringing groups to the castle since the 70s and reports directly back to the royal family on what those meetings are about. Came up to Marla and I and said, I'd love to take you both aside and share something with you. And we're like, sure, what's up? You know, it's like, Jessica, come here, I want to tell you something.
Yeah.
So he starts to tell us We had to have a private car pick us up from London on Sunday. You don't Uber up to the castle and schlep your bags up to the castle doors. So we had to have a secure car pick us up.
Of course.
And he says, I saw you both arrive on Sunday and get out of the car, and you were surrounded by this beautiful bubble of white light. So we were like, wow. Again, this is why we cannot judge another. We're not judged. How can we look at someone and say, you don't look religious enough, you don't look spiritual enough? Really? You can see my heart and soul, or because how we're dressed or appear or act means I'm not spiritual or religious. So we can never judge another, but just out of context. So we said, thank you. And then he says to Marla and I, last night I had a vision of your tree. And your tree encompassed the entire world. And underneath your tree, I saw hundreds of thousands of these beautiful white tents representing every person, every cause, every religion, everyone. He says it's not a Tree of Life Foundation you started. It's a Tree of Life movement. It's much bigger than you possibly could have ever dreamt or imagined. So Marla and I are like, holy shift. Because we knew in our hearts we were doing something right, and you know when you follow your heart it's never wrong, but not of that magnitude. So we go back to sleep that night, we're kind of in awe, and we're back in the last day of meetings, and again everyone's talking about what we can do and how we can heal the world and bring us back together. And Pete finally says to Marla, I think Marla has something to share with the group, and what did you say?
Well, who can get a word in with him anyway? And he was like ready to explode. So I said, I think I better let Scott speak. I've been asking him to hold back the whole time, so he has a lot to share.
I was sitting on my hands. And so I said thank you, and I start talking about what we just created the month before for the Pope and the refugee children to
And
help.
was that this piece right here?
That was a pendant with the tree on one side,
So
and
It was similar to this.
similar to this.
Okay.
and then the Pope's, it's the world flags on the other side. It's called A Chance in Life. So
Okay.
that was on the other side, and we did a whole collection with bracelets and pendants and medallions and cufflinks. And I started talking about that to help them become sustainable, and it's all about unifying all mankind, and it's not about religion or color. It's, again, doing the right thing. I start talking about the spiritual meaning of the Tree of Life, and which most people don't understand. It's not a religious symbol, it's a spiritual symbol. It goes back to creation, and it's in every religious book or spiritual book in the world. And briefly to touch on it, it's about the expansion of our souls. It's the evolution of consciousness. It's not being better than anyone else in this world. It's being better than who we were yesterday. We're here to grow. We're here to always expand and learn. But we're also here to help another soul. And then I start talking about laws of attraction, which you know so well.
Yes.
Again, who won the intention stick at the beautiful event.
Yeah.
So I start talking about laws of attraction, what we think about, we bring about. What goes up comes down. What we put out from our hearts comes back in. It's the third law of physics. So if we're putting out kindness and love and gratitude and happiness and joy and compassion, only more of that comes back in. But if we're putting out more worry, more stress, more fear, more anxiety, only more of that comes back in. So we have the ability to shift that consciousness like that. And I said, which led us to this. Now, at the time, this was in prototype, and Marla surprised me the month before for my birthday in September with this, and we had just started, as you had asked earlier, how did this take place and what inspired us? And this goes back about 3.5 years. I do morning prayer and then I do meditation. And one morning, as I'm designing jewelry, I'll just have an image come in like, ooh, I just saw your ring or a pendant or necklace, but I saw an image of a tube. And then a month later, I'm in meditation and I saw our tree being wrapped around the tube. And I come running out to share this with Marla. And And then all of a sudden, we both start receiving messages or words that kept popping in visually, both of us at the same
Is that
time.
how we got to the 22 magic words?
Yes.
I always wondered.
Yes. And
Why 22 and why
well,
specific words?
22, it's
There we
11,
go.
11. Again, no coincidences, no by chance. We ended
Oh
up
my
with 22
gosh.
words.
I love that.
It's very powerful. And I share with most of the people that we speak with, and this is a beautiful occasion, what inspired us. And actually going back just over 22 years, one of our 4 children, Justin, who's 22 now, at 8 days old, had malrotation, where his stomach and his large intestine twisted and it becomes very toxic and was killing him. And we say, thank God for Phoenix Children's Hospital. We rushed him there. Don't forget, he's 8 days old. And they can't figure it out. Days are going by and it wasn't good. And all of a sudden, this team from California shows up. These experts, we say are angels, figured it out. Emergency surgery saved his life. So anything to deal with children, a cause, a cure, education, clothing, we've always been in, even since we've been little children, to help another. So what inspired us and what Marla and I received, which I'm going to read the words to you, what both of us received to share with the world. And these are the words which I know you know, but to share with everyone else listening. Believe, faith, gratitude, mindful, be, let it be, love, light, blessed, peace, kindness, compassion, success, knowledge, trust, spiritual, happiness, courage, laugh and joy, inspire, consciousness, and the 2 most important, even though these are all important, health and oneness. And when we use the Tree of Life intention stick, and again going back to, God forbid we know a sick child, our own child, a friend, or ourselves for that matter that's sick or going through something, that we're actually able to take that word out. Let's say the word is health.
Yes.
We can set that intention for someone else that's going through something much worse than what we may be going through. But Marla and I say we cannot possibly give what we do not have. So if we're depleted of happiness or love or kindness or courage or whatever that may be, and as we see, everyone in this world is going through something. It doesn't matter if you're a billionaire or you're on the street. It doesn't matter if you're religious or you're an atheist. Everyone is going through something. We don't accept the answer, how are you? And if they answer, oh, I'm fine. Well, if you have the miracle cure to I'm fine, I want it, because everyone else in the world is going through something.
It's true.
So when we choose that word to put inside our intention sticks, and I have several in mind, and so does Marla, but what's beautiful is that we can change out our words daily or weekly or monthly.
I haven't changed mine since I got
That's
my
okay.
intention stick in March.
Oh, okay.
So how often do you recommend people to change them?
Well, again, we say we're always being tested, or challenges or obstacles come into our lives, and we may need to put in a different word. We may be going through something very difficult, so we may need to put in courage. Or we're holding on, which we see this world today, everyone's holding on to something from the past.
Yeah.
Well, I even think about our youngest, who is 10, is a perfect example. So here's a younger child who she changes her words accordingly. So if she's having a challenge at school, she might put courage or trust. And I know she had a quiz, and so she changed it out to knowledge and success together.
I love that.
So she could feel the knowledge come within her that she needed to get through that. So it's all personal. There's no right or wrong. But if you feel that you still need the words or the intentions that you have in yours, again, it's all personal. I mean, if you need to keep it in there for as long as you want until something else arises that it's come to, you know what, I've manifested this and something else is going on that I need a different intention.
Yes.
So as long as you're aware of what's happening around you and your energy and your, what we talked about, your alignment, you'll know.
It's funny, whenever I catch 1111 or 111, I grab my intention stick and I say what the 3 words are that are in it, just to kind of reaffirm it. If I don't have a specific hope or wish that day that's really, pointed, I just wish success, love, trust.
I love it.
And then
Beautiful.
I keep going.
Absolutely.
I think that it's really a good affirmation for everyone.
Yes.
To just be conscious of, putting out the positive energy into the universe, even when you're having a really bad day.
Mm-hmm. It's that tool,
Yes.
that reminder to always bring us
Exactly.
home. So we say when we're choosing our words, even though we may not speak them, they're being heard, whether we ask for God's help or the universe or the source or the light, whatever that person believes in. And we say even our atheist friends believe in something, even though they may not want to admit it because they're saying that I'm so-and-so, which is fine. And again, who are we to judge?
Right.
So we say when we're choosing our word, it's being heard from our hearts, but we say when we speak our words, we must be very mindful, because Marla and I say, I'd rather have someone smack us in the face because a bruise will heal, a word will always be there. So we must be very mindful of our words. So when we choose those words and put them in, we get to wear this, again, close to our hearts as a tool, as a reminder until we achieve trust or success or knowledge or courage or happiness or, again, whatever that may be for that individual or that intention they were setting for someone else. And since this was softly launched about 11 months ago, going back from the original, idea 3.5 years ago, the tens and hundreds of thousands of stories that are being shared around the world, miraculous stories, physical healing stories, shifting of consciousness stories, people bumping into others wearing these on the other side of the world that don't know one another.
Let's pause. I want to hear Marla's favorite story, intention stick story, and then I want to hear yours.
Okay,
goodness.
The
good.
first one that popped into your mind, it doesn't have to be a favorite.
It
There's-
doesn't have to be, oh
No.
my goodness,
Perfect.
we're all over.
Yeah.
Well, actually, maybe I should say Larry's. Should I say Larry's or like George? What do you think is more effective? Those are what pop into my mind, but they're both
Funny.
completely different.
Well, you know what? I think Larry's is beautiful because it also, I can share a healing story. So I think that
Okay.
also is beautiful. It's miraculous.
Okay, I can share. So, not every, as a doctor, here, I'll say it like this, as a doctor experiences, there are times where they can't completely heal a patient, where it's just, it's out of their control.
Right.
And one of the things that Scott and I have come to an understanding is that, same with us, that we can't always heal someone to health, but what we can do with the intention stick is make someone fill themselves up to understand that shift of consciousness, to understand, to love themselves fully, so they can live the rest of their lives in peace, happiness, or whatever it is that they need for themselves. One of the stories that I would like to share with you that I witnessed that I think is absolutely beautiful is that our 4 children were taking classic piano lessons with a beautiful instructor who was trained at Juilliard, genius of a man. And I had recognized that a few weeks prior to the last time I had seen him that he was having a harder time getting in and out of his chair, and he looked like he was not well. And he was, in addition to that, he was sharing with us that his son, his older son, about 23 years old, was getting into some really bad situations and trouble, and he was very concerned about his son, and you could see that was wearing on him. And again, we all have these types of challenges in our life. So I said to our youngest daughter, who at the time was taking the lesson with him, I think it's time that we give Larry an intention stick. I think he needs this now, because he was a very religious man, not necessarily spiritual. So sometimes it can take a little bit to reach somebody to make them
Right.
understand really how we need to be living. So I told him, when I come back, I have a gift for you, but leave me some time, because there's a story and you have to understand how to use this gift. So we explained, when we came back, we explained to him about the intention stick, how to use it, explained to him that what I was recognizing is that he was depleting of himself, that he was such a loving father and cared so much about his son. And we all do. We all care so much about our children. We love our children. But that one thing that I have learned is that his son will figure it out. His son is on his journey. And just like we figured out, or Larry figured it out, your son will figure it out. And that you must leave him be to make his own choices, because we say a responsible choice is a choice you make when you're able to accept the consequences. And sometimes the consequences are great lessons. They're gifts. So I could see him really thinking about what I was saying, and then also reminding him to fill himself back up with love. To remember,
Right.
you're giving your love away, but fill it back up. So he started crying, just releasing, because it hit him like a ton of bricks. He got it. And he was so grateful. And I went to go he says, can you please choose my words? Help me choose my words. So Jaden helped me and Larry choose his words. And we chose health, which was obvious because he needed help in that department. We chose love, to remind him to fill himself back up with love, and to let it be, like the song, right?
Right.
Leave it alone. Let life happen the way it should be, and it's all going to work out. So we put those on his intention stick, and we went to go put it around his neck, and we noticed that the chain was a shorter chain, and there's no way this was going to go around his neck, because he was a bigger man, and it wasn't going to happen. And I said, I'm so sorry. Even though we had done blessings and everything on it, I said, please hold on to the intention stick, put it in your pocket. It'll be with you. And when we come this week, I'll bring you the appropriate chain and we'll get it on you. So we come back. That was Sunday. We come back Tuesday, and I have a brand new chain. Our jeweler made me a brand new chain, so I'm so excited. I'm going to get this on Larry today. So we go in and have your chain, go to put it on him. The clasp would not work. It was just made. This chain was made for him. I was embarrassed. I said, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on. I always keep packages of the intention sticks with me, because I never know who's going to need it, who comes into my life when I need to have one ready. So I went to my car and I got my packages and I opened one, and sometimes I can finagle the clasp and make a new one, Couldn't do it. Open another package, same thing. It was like, what is going on? Third, wouldn't do it. Okay, it's not meant to be. I went back in. I said, Larry, I'm so sorry. I promise you when I come back next week, I will have the appropriate chain. Again, keep it in your pocket. The blessings are still there. It's still there to fill you up. It's with you. It's just not on you. So this time, we have a new chain being made. I had Scott check it.
It was perfect.
I said, please check it. Let's make sure before I go, because this is going on Larry today. So it was perfect. Got back in my car. We went to our lesson, go in there. And as soon as we get to the front door, I see there's a note on the door. I'm holding the chain. And the note says, there's been a family emergency. Please call this number. And I called the number, and it was Larry's wife. And she said, Larry passed away. And what was so interesting was that was Tuesday, see, and we saw him the Tuesday prior. He had texted me Wednesday a beautiful message that said, thank you so much for this beautiful gift. I really look forward to you putting this on me, and I will treasure it always, and sending you all love. And then she said, Larry passed away on Thursday the following day. And for a few days, I was really distraught, really beating myself up. I should have gotten there. I should have got this necklace on him. If only this necklace was on him, he would have been healed. And, as I started to process all this information, and our 4 children are very spiritual, and after discussion with all 4 of them, they all had the same response to me, was that was never meant to go around Larry's neck. It was never meant to give him that physical healing, and I still get like all choked up talking about it. And when I had that realization, again, that we cannot possibly physically heal everyone, but that what we were able to do was to help Larry transition in peace, that we were able to help fill him back up before he moved on. And I know that's what we did for him. So I actually then called our rock star rabbi, who is a very spiritual man, and I went to see him just to make sure that what I understood was correct. And his response was that he actually calls that God's wink.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one of the most beautiful stories that I had witnessed, that as much as I miss his physical being, I know he's with us, but that we were able to help him move on in peace.
That's amazing. That's truly amazing.
Yes. Well, I know it's definitely emotional, but there's no words other than we know it helped him shift and fill himself
peacefully
back up
do
with
so.
love and let go, and needed everything he needed to do to transition. And again, I don't think we could have asked for a bigger blessing to see that happen, to let someone leave filled of happiness. And that was his time.
Yep. And we
But
never know when the time is.
No, and just to have the years that we spent with him, just the gratitude.
It's amazing.
We feel blessed that our children and we got to know him.
Absolutely. So let's wrap up with your
Okay. Well, I
your
only have a
chosen
billion,
story.
I know,
billion
it's
stories.
hard.
I'm
Well,
not even going to say favorite. Chosen.
well, I have to share, which really was the first time we witnessed a miracle of healing in front of our eyes, physical healing, because we're witnessing people shifting consciousness, letting go of what they've been holding on to, whether it's been from childhood or, as we say, some jerk cutting us off on the road 5 minutes ago. Because if we don't learn to let go and forgive and send that with love, those things turn into thoughts, those thoughts turn into sickness, and the sickness turns into disease. And as we've been working with all the different doctors around the world and healers, they've been telling Marla and I, even if they surgically remove it or treat it with medicine or chemo or radiation, it could come back, and it could come back with a vengeance, because it's not what caused the sickness in the first place. So if we don't learn to forgive, even as hard as that situation may be or horrific from childhood, we must learn to forgive and let that go and send it with love, because it's no longer served us. We need to receive new blessings. So after one morning of prayer and meditation, my friend Tony kept coming into my mind very clearly. And Tony's been fighting Lyme disease for years, which is a form of cancer, very horrific. It's actually Lyme disease, multiple sclerosis. It's very painful, horrific. And I called him that morning because he kept coming into my vision, and I said, Tony, you need to come in. I have to share something with you. And he had no idea about this. And he came in, and when someone's not feeling well, he was gray. I mean, he looked like a dead, wilted flower. You could see the pain in his face. And I start sharing all the stories with Tony. And Tony's a big, strong guy, and he starts to well up and cry. And I'm like, oh my goodness, Tony, I didn't mean to make you cry. And he says, no, Scott, you don't understand. The words you're speaking are verbatim from the book of Kabbalah. Now, I've never opened up the book of Kabbalah. And you're not supposed to, unless in Judaism you study for 40 years, become a rabbi, then start studying Kabbalah. I've never done that. And Tony's not Jewish, but lived in LA. And he says, prior to moving to Arizona, for 20 years I studied at the Kabbalah Center. He's very mathematical, logic-driven, scientific-minded guy. Not your most religious, but spiritual. that moved me when he shared that with me. And I before Marla and I ever give the intention stick to anyone, or even if we send hundreds around the world, we always do blessings and prayers, as you know, for that individual or for that group. And for Tony, I held his intention stick and I asked for blessings of health and whatever else I felt he needed at that time. And he opened up his intention stick and he chose 3 words to put inside. And I came around and put it around his neck and he started sobbing. So I came in to hold him, and as I'm holding him, he said, "It just left. It's gone." And I let go of him, and you see all of the color come back to his face and these rosy red cheeks. And I said, "What's gone? What just left?" And he said, "All of the pain in my body just left." And he starts to move his arms to show me he can move his arms. Now I'm bawling because I'm witnessing a miracle in front of my eyes, and I sit down to compose myself. And he starts to tell me, "Scott, you don't even understand. I couldn't even get out of bed this morning. I was in so much pain. I don't even like to take an ibuprofen for my pain, but something was telling me I must come in." He said, "Because of the words I chose and your heart coming from pure love and pure intention, and you gave this to me as a gift and expected nothing in return, healed me." He says, "I am the biggest skeptic in the world. I am that logic-driven, mathematical, scientific-minded person. You have all my support." Now, they left. I'm still trying to figure out what just happened. I called Marla and I said, "I don't think I understand what's going on. I just witnessed this miracle." To the point, as Marla mentioned earlier, we called our rock star rabbi. Now, we have many friends that are priests and chaplains and ministers and other rabbis or spiritual advisors that would say, "Scott and Marla, these are some really cute stories. You need to come to temple or church or synagogue and pray and you'll be okay." We say the skeptics, and what do you say?
Oh, we don't have enough information.
Yeah, we don't have enough information to be a skeptic, which I thought was brilliant. So we called in our rabbi, Orthodox rabbi, not as we all envision this heavy-set, long-bearded, black hat rabbi coming. No, he grew up in Cape Town in Africa, played rugby his whole life, MMA fighter, ran an Ironman 3 months ago,
Okay, yeah, that's rockstar status.
and brilliant in every religion in the IT and tech world in the world. Rockstar rabbi comes in, we start sharing all the stories with the rabbi. The rabbi starts welling up to cry. So that's one thing you don't want to do, is make a priest or a rabbi or someone cry. So we're like, "Oh my goodness, rabbi, we didn't mean to make you cry." And he says, "No, Scott and Marla, you don't understand. The words you're speaking are verbatim from the book of the Talmud." Now, the Talmud is older righteous tzaddiks, rabbis debating the Old Testament and the Torah, which I've never opened because it's in Hebrew to study. And he starts to tell Marla and I what we've received or have been given as a gift is well over 2,000 years old, coming from Holy Scripture, of what we tapped into.
Wow.
And he starts telling us, today in this world there's a door of good and there's a door of evil. And we all have the ability to open either one and walk through. He says, what you've been given has opened a third smaller door that is more powerful than good and evil combined, that will heal the world. He says this is tikkun olam. Tikkun olam is a Hebrew word which means that it starts from ourselves. We must fill ourselves back up in order to help another brother and sister, which will heal the world. And what does it say in every spiritual or religious book? Love your brother and your sister like you love yourself.
I think a lot of people struggle with the loving themselves part.
Yeah.
Yes, so how
The hardest thing for people
correct,
to do.
and how can we love someone else if we don't fully love ourselves first? Unconditional love. So if I say, "Jessica, I love you," you know that it's true in my heart. It's not, "Oh, I love you, kiss, kiss, have a nice day." But we must fill ourselves back up with unconditional love to help heal or love another brother and sister, which will heal the world.
And that's the exact shift that we need in our society.
Yes. because this world comes from fear and ego.
Judgment and ego.
And thinking that someone is better than another.
Well, it goes back to scientific research. I mean, this is all scientific, everything we're talking about. So, and it even goes back to the theory, Darwin versus Newton, because Darwin taught us the survival of the fittest, right? That it's about competition. But he had it wrong. We're all from a collective whole. We're from a bigger self. And the ego comes in as where it makes us individuals. But people think that they have to be better than someone else, better in their job, better at school, in the education. I have to have a better car than my neighbor. So it all goes back to the competition, and people forget that it's about cooperation.
In collaboration.
Right. It's not about us. It's about us collectively.
Thank you guys so much for sharing this beautiful story. It has been such a journey, and I know that it's only going to grow just tenfold day by day. I mean, the amount of people that you've already touched in 11 months.
Yes.
So we're about to celebrate 1 year.
Yes, we can't even keep up with what's taking place right now. And
do we have a 1 year celebration planned?
Every day is a celebration.
That's a good way to live.
We say every day is a birthday.
That's beautiful.
Yes, it is. And the most important aspect or purpose was this wasn't about a piece of jewelry.
No.
This was a gift
larger.
we received to share with the world, so we had to make it affordable for the world. And
so tell everyone how they can get one of these beautiful things all around the world.
Yes, so it ended up the numerology, as we talked about, it ended up, we started receiving numbers, but we also started receiving 5999. And when we looked up the spiritual meaning of those numbers, it brought up the combination of 5 and 9 repeating is an indication of sweeping changes and endings. And what it's letting us know is that we must let the old go because it served us to how it has today, but we must send it with love in order to receive all the new blessings in our lives. So we made this $59.99. So the 99 cents plants a tree in that person's honor to give back to Mother Earth. Because the trees have been here since creation, and they're going to be here long after we're gone. Plus, they're alive and communicate with one another just as all of our souls are connected. We built in a percentage to help all the causes around the world, knowing where every penny goes to: children, education, feeding, building third world wells in third world countries, helping our vets, cancer research, everyone. And then we're having Gompers here in the Valley do our packaging, and we don't use the word special needs, we say special interests. It's adults with autism and Down syndrome and cerebral palsy that we give them a purpose to do all the packaging, so each one is sealed with love. So you can go on to our website, which is treeoflifemovement.org. Okay. You can go on to intentionstick.org. You can visit the website, Facebook, Instagram. It's for us to share with the world.
So no matter how someone gets in touch with you, you will bless their intention stick, process the order, and send it off to them with love.
Always.
So it's truly accessible to anyone.
Everyone. There's no age, there's no gender. It's for everyone in this world.
I love that.
It's to unify all mankind.
I love that. You guys are doing such an amazing, amazing duty of God. Thank you so much for sharing this story.
Oh, we're honored to be here, and thank you for allowing us to share this with you and your viewers. So we're the ones that feel blessed.
Everyone, thank you so much for meeting Scott and Marla and hearing this amazing story. And I hope that you all get your intention sticks very soon, because they really are life-changing. Thank you.